All right, so what is the road to love? Now, it is not the road to a romantic partner or a romantic union. The road to love readings, and I think I've only done one before this, they're about transcending. If you are a person of faith who believes that you are guided by whatever you feel guided by, then you understand that what that means when we listen to that intuition, when we listen to our whatever we feel guides us, uh, we're being guided towards ascension, towards progression, leveling up, becoming better versions of ourselves. To varying degrees, in some cases, it could be like finding our purpose and living it. Whatever it is for you, the road to love is not the road to romantic love so much as it is the road to universal love, the love that in essence motivates us to do and accomplish whatever it is that we want and feel we want to accomplish. So not just again romantic union, but like when we're passionate about something, that's love that drives you, your love for that thing, the love that you have for like the feeling it provides for you, that's what motivates you to like get that thing done. So that's what the road to love is. It's the road towards a higher version of ourselves, the best version of ourselves, and how that for me it's a recognition of how love motivates that, love for ourselves, love for that thing, etc., etc. Of course, romantic love and union can be a byproduct of us accessing higher forms of self-love and elevation, etc., etc., and that can be great. Of course, sometimes the readings do pick up on romantic situations. The point is that that's not the goal here. It's not that the destination is for us to reach a point where we can successfully get a romantic partner or whatever the case is. So yeah. Now for the spread, just to talk about it. If you don't know what I'm referencing by the spread, it's okay if you don't worry about it. This card here at the beginning is going to be the traveler, you, the person going down the road to love to accomplish these things. What how you are being recognized on this road to love. We're gonna go up here because this is gonna be the last card over it. So we start with the traveler, you, who you are, what's missing, the purpose, the reasoning for you being on this road, what you feel is missing, and what you feel is the goal for you in trying to progress and develop yourself. The path behind, just what's behind, and that's motivating what's behind in terms of trajectory of this path. Like, what are you moving away from? The path ahead gives an indication of how to successfully reach our destination or our goals. Allow me to point out that there is no ultimate goal to the road to love. Progress and development is a constant thing that we are going to continue throughout our lives. But that doesn't mean that there aren't destinations on that path for us to reach certain goal milestones for us to like pat ourselves on the back for. And so the path ahead is like how to get to that next waypoint, basically. The obstacle is very clearly the obstacle that we're going to have to overcome in order to gain our success. The windfall is a certain prize that's available to us if we accomplish and do what we're being guided to do. So there's a way of going down the path to love where, maybe for whatever reason, maybe you just don't have the time or the energy or maybe even just the motivation to like properly do this work that you're being called to do. In that case, you wouldn't have access to this windfall. But if you're doing everything that you're being guided to do, it's kind of like when, you do that extra credit, or if you play video games, if you like complete everything that needs to be completed, then you get that extra prize at the end, the windfall. At least that's how I kind of feel that's what this card represents. It in some cases, because I am recording this bit after I've already done the 3 piles for this video. I, it doesn't always mean that. Sometimes the windfall is going to be accessible to us regardless of what we're doing, because sometimes regardless of what we're doing, we are going down this path successfully, just out of our inherent nature. And so finally we reach the destination, which is just where are we heading towards? Where will we end up should we continue on this trajectory? All right, my friends, I hope that helped. I hope that clarified things. I'll see you at your reading. Bye. All right, hello, my friends, and welcome to this reading on the safe passage down the road to love. Now, there is a full breakdown in right after the introduction. down in the timestamp where you found a timestamp for this reading, you'll find a timestamp for an explanation of what the road to love is. But real quick, it's basically not the road to romantic love so much as it's the road to universal love. Basically, long story short, it's the how you transcend, how we can become better versions of ourselves. That's the road to love. If romantic love is part of the prize at the end of that road for you, and mind you, there is no ultimate road, it's a road that continues to go and we continue to grow because that's what transcendence is. But, if romantic love happens to be a byproduct of your elevation, then, more blessings to you. But I just want to clarify that this is not a romantic love reading. That being said, if you understand the reference that I'm making with this spread and the title of this reading, cool. So happy to have you here. If you don't, same. Happy to have you here. That's all I'm really going to say about it. Now, to dive into the reading itself, mind you, sorry, before I continue, there's going to be, if I didn't already say it, a full breakdown of what the road to love is down in the introduction. You can find that in the timestamps. I'm also explaining in detail what the spread in and of itself is. Further breakdown than what I'm going to be giving as I go through this reading. Now, okay. You, the traveler, the Queen of Cups. Now, if you do understand the reference that I'm making with this spread and the title of this reading, you must be as giddy as I am to be called the Queen of Cups as the traveler. Capable emotionally. This is someone, you are being described as someone who has everything within themselves to accomplish success, not only on the road to love, but on really anything that you take on. Before I continue, I want to kind of point out that there's like a very specific message that's for, I'm sure, a few of you, if not just one of you, and then the rest of the message applies to like all the rest of us who are tuning into this pile. Now, to just get into that that specific reading, which kind of will let you know what the general reading is too. But basically, if you are currently going through legal processes, particularly divorce, and if not divorce, something to do with family, something to do with, very likely, with kids, it's okay if not. But if there's something about, there's been some hardship with legal issues and particularly a divorce and or family issues, and, you're wondering about that, this reading is basically saying you can find your way to success in this endeavor. You just really have to trust the intuitive messages that you are receiving. And if that doesn't apply, if you don't feel like you're an intuitive person, then there are things that are happening around this situation where it's almost serendipitous the way that something sort of happened. Like, out of nowhere, this person comes into your life who has particular knowledge about what you're going through and can really give you some solid advice as to how to succeed. Whatever it is, you have to trust the things that feel like they will get you to success, because your guide's life, etc., whatever it is that you believe is higher than what we can see and feel. See and like feel with like sensory, not like feel internally. They're trying to get you to success. And if there's a kid involved, then rest assured that the well-being of that kid is also being considered, like by your guides and et cetera, et cetera. If you are protected, then so is that child. But it really does seem like with the Eight of Wands, like you really do have to trust yourself. And if you have guides, if you are of faith, placing more trust in that faith, rather. Now, to get into the general reading for everyone, and I'll continue to add details to this specific message as I continue with the general one. You being described as the Queen of Cups, as the traveler, this isn't your first rodeo. This isn't the first hardship that you've encountered. The person who you are today is the result of the hardships that you've been through and your capacity to alchemize the shit and all of the dark, icky feelings that it left you with, and alchemizing that into what it is that you have today. What's missing? Justice reversed. Now, this is where I was getting that specific message for those of you who are having legal issues, why you're seeking this elevated path, why you are trying to transcend and grow. The success that you're looking for is to find justice, the justice that you feel wasn't served or that doesn't exist, and that you now have to put effort into like manifesting and creating. And it's not manifesting like, it's become trendy to use it as like manifesting in terms of magically creating something, but no, like you actually have to work to create the justice that you're trying to see. And with the Emperor reversed in the path behind, to continue with that specific message, where this is very likely that individual who's making things very difficult right now, in, for lack of a better term, like your adversary in this legal issue. Now, for those of you who aren't going through any legal issues right now, then it starts to get a lot deeper, where with the Queen of Cups, you being described as the Queen of Cups, and the reasoning for you being on this journey to transcendence being justice reversed, and that there's also three majors in this 7-card spread, really lets me know that what's going on is you are in essence looking back at your life and all the things that have left heavy emotional residue. You're looking at those things and you're now willing to alchemize them. Kind of how I was talking about earlier, how the person you are today is the result of all the hardships that you've gone through. Well, you're doing that now, where you're looking at the hardships you need to process, or a hardship or whatever it is, and you're willing to do the work to alchemize this and, like diminish its hold over you and maybe move on into new chapters of your life. And so part of that work of processing this emotional matter that we're talking about is recognizing, acknowledging, and affirming to yourself that there was indeed a lack of justice. And it almost feels like a gross lack of justice, like something, this feels heavy, but like something done to you, like you being victimized to the degree that it left an emotional impression, one that you are still trying to break out of today. And the Emperor reversed is the individual or the individuals, or if not the individuals in society itself, that ostracized you, not objectified, oppressed you, and caused this heavy emotional residue that you're now processing and dealing with. Now, this could vary depending on, who you are and where you're at on your journey, where it could be like you processing one specific scenario, a breakup, a death, any heavy emotional residue, like anything that's left that heavy emotional residue that you're like, okay, let me sit down and actually be honest with myself about how I felt about those things, etc., etc. Or it could be talking about how you're entering this phase of your life where you're trying to do that at a bigger scale, where you've maybe made decisions to not want to be victimized by your past anymore, to cut ties from your past in order to move into your future more securely, in essence, liberated from the past. Now, it's a cliche for a reason. Healing is not linear, it is cyclical, which basically means that it's okay for you to, quote unquote, return to a place you felt you had gotten over. And, you shouldn't feel like a failure for, quote unquote, not being over something, because again, healing is cyclical, so it circles around. We're going to come back to this place where we're not, quote unquote, over it, where we're, quote unquote, not over it, sorry. The less shit we give ourselves for not being over something, the easier the processing of that shit can be. And so, okay, that's what these first three cards are basically telling me. The Queen of Cups, what's missing being Justice reversed, and the path behind being the Emperor reversed, where, again, it varies depending on where you're at, where it could be something very specific to, like, you're this person who's made things very difficult and that you're now taking legal action against to protect yourself. Or you wanting to look back at a situation honestly and process it so that you can, heal from it and progress. And or not just one circumstance, but you digging into just anything that you feel has left emotional residue so that you can liberate yourself from it, relinquish its, diminish some of its power over you, and again, be able to move into your future more securely. Now, the path ahead being the 8 of Wands. is where I was getting that message of you have to really trust your intuition. You have to, and if you don't consider yourself an intuitive person, then just trust yourself to know that you do know the path ahead. You do know what's best for you. Even if you're in a situation that's like uncharted territory, like for example, if it is that legal issue and you've never had to like contact a lawyer, or you've never had to like deal with anything like this, just know and trust that even if you make the wrong decision, because you start with the Queen of Cups, like you can handle anything that goes wrong. And in fact, if you are a person of faith, a person who understands that you don't always have to see something in order for you to believe in it, then the Eight of Wands is basically saying you have to trust that part of yourself more. You have to trust your gut, because there are things, what guides you, what protects you, is really trying to deliver messages. If you are the type of individual who knows that you get like those, what we call downloads, or what we also call like channeling, something like that, like trust that more. If you feel like that's something that you're capable of, now is the time to develop that. Now, for those of us who don't consider ourselves intuitive, or who, all of this woo-woo stuff doesn't really like ring our bell, that's okay. Trust yourself. Trust yourself to, like, even if you make, like I was saying earlier, even if you make a mistake, you have the capacity and the intelligence to get yourself out of it. And even if that like kind of like, well, I don't want to mess up, I don't want to like do anything. Well, that's life. Like, we can't have every answer, we can't have every step, like, because the future is flux. There's every single person alive right now is in some way, shape, or form developing the future, and so like no singular person can have that much control over it for us to know everything that's about to happen. So just act as you feel is best for you to act, and know that that in essence is what's best for you. Even if that leads you into a mistake, trust that that mistake is something that you can learn a lot from and apply it as you move forward. That can be really shitty to hear, and honestly, I'm not really getting that message in terms of like, hey, prepare for the worst. It's just that I can sense that there are some of us here who are thinking of the worst possible scenario anyway, and that like almost paralyzes us. And so the message is coming through for those individuals who feel paralyzed by, fear of what might happen. You have to act anyway. Like, if you freeze here, everything goes to shit. Like, you have to act. So just do, and you're smart enough to act accordingly, and you have to trust yourself more. And if you are of faith, then you have to trust your guides more. You have to trust life more to guide you where you have asked to be guided to. Like, if you've prayed for it, then okay, go ahead and have faith that you're being led there. Don't just freeze in this space. Don't just pray to get out of here and then stay in the place that you're praying to get out of. Now, the obstacle kind of comes, I don't know if it's going to be like a two-parter where both of these things could be true for you, or if one of these things, but one of these things is going to be true for you. Now, the obstacle being talked about as the Seven of Swords. It could be, and I think this applies to all of you, to be honest. You gotta stay quiet. You cannot be telling people your shit. And I'm getting this specifically for those of you who are going through a legal issue with an ex that you're trying to divorce from, or you're trying to like gain custody of your kids over, there is someone around you who is repeating everything you say to them. Like, the Seven of Swords says that quite clearly. Like, they're taking everything that you're saying and they're repeating it to that person for whatever reason. You probably know why. Whether it's like family loyalty, or it's one of your little, like, one of those gross quote unquote friends who's just liking your boyfriend or your ex or whatever for weirdo reasons. I don't know. The point is, sorry to gender that, your girlfriend, your significant other, whatever it is. Now, if that's not you, right? If you're not going through any legal issues, then it's about just understanding that sometimes when we talk about it energetically, sometimes people without wanting to can like weigh that wish down or that hope down. And even just that, like, sometimes we just need to move in silence. Sometimes we develop better work when we are developing it internally, as opposed to trying to bounce ideas off of other people. Sometimes people just don't care about what we're going through, and their reaction to what we're trying to tell them might then impact us in a way that we no longer want to pursue this in the first place. Whatever it is, the Seven of Swords is the first thing that, or what the Seven of Swords is saying to all of you is stay quiet, especially about these things. Just move in silence, keep this to yourself until you have genuine results in your hands, and then you can talk about it. Now, for some of you, here we get a little bit more specific. you might, and it kind of applies with like, staying quiet. You might have to do a little bit of sneaking. I don't know if for some of you, there's the solution, part of the solution to this problem that you're facing, whatever it is you have to do something that you might not feel super comfortable doing. Going and talking to a certain person you haven't talked to in a long time for whatever reason, and you're like, oh, I don't want to reach out to that person because whatever reason it might be. Or maybe it's like your lawyer asked you to like pick up some documents. Sorry to go back to that specific message, but like, I don't know, like something in terms of like, there's something that's part of the solution that you're like, really like, I don't know that I can do that. The obstacle is basically saying, for the best results, you're going to have to. Kind of like this dude's doing. He's sneaking into an enemy camp for these swords so that to give his side an advantage. And so the obstacle is basically saying, in order to give yourself an advantage, there's something that is going to be very difficult. Whatever that is that you recognize isn't something you really want to do. That's the thing that is going to get you the best possible result. The windfall, the best possible outcome is, okay, this is here where it splits. Well, I guess I talked about it already, where if we're talking about legal issues, and specifically if we're talking about where kids are involved, the Page of Cups as the windfall is basically saying it's just, there's, the outcome will benefit them the most. And so you have to like kind of discern what that might mean. Because I feel like in some cases, I'm kind of being told to leave that there because it's just, I'm just going to leave that there. But with the windfall being the Page of Cups was just a card of youth, where kids are involved, they will be okay. No matter what happens, they are protected. And so the outcomes, whatever the outcomes, they'll be okay. The windfall is for them. Now, for those of us who, no kids are involved, what the Page of Cups is saying is, if you're worried that all of the tumultuous emotional stuff you've been through, if you feel like that has left you too scarred to ever feel good again, if you feel like, you've hardened, life has hardened you too much, if you feel like you're too jaded to ever again feel like you can enjoy life with that sense of wonder, or like you enjoyed it and experienced it before, you were in essence hurt. The Page of Cups is saying that yes, it is possible. You're going through it right now, and maybe you haven't been able to find yourself back to that place. The Page of Cups is basically saying that it's not about, okay, well, yes, it is, and yes, no, it's not. It's not about going back to the place or going back to who you were when you were able to enjoy those things, but rather it's exactly like healing, where it's cyclical, it's not linear. And so you will, like, as life has it, and if you believe in astrology, you'll know this to be true, but like the patterns mean that if there's, because life is all about patterns, even if you don't believe in astrology, like then if shit has been bad so far, then it stands to reason that it'll cycle into something better. That's what the Page of Cups is saying, that the windfall, should you succeed at all of, through this road that you're on and on this circumstance and endeavor that you're on, if you successfully go through this obstacle, the windfall is, yes, you will be able to feel that way again. Maybe not to the degree, that you were experiencing things when you were, for lack of a better term, innocent, ignorant to the harshnesses that you're now aware of. But you will feel things to the degree that, like, it does leave an impact the way that things left an impact on you before all of those things had happened. With the destination being the Hermit reversed. The destination is you out of solitude. Now, this applies for all of you. Whether that solitude is through that legal issue where maybe this situation has left you feeling like, damn, like the person that I trusted the most ended up being my biggest enemy. Or, if as you're looking back at this circumstance, this specific circumstance, or the circumstances in your life that have left a heavy emotional residue, as you're looking back on these things, maybe part of the realizations is how all of these things have made it more difficult for you to engage in relationships the way that you would like to. And so the Hermit reversed is in essence saying that the whole point why you're on this road isn't just to seek, well, rather, it's not, since what's missing is justice reversed. Justice for you is in essence you know no longer being impacted by these things in such a way that it keeps you isolated. That it like fuels those trust issues, where if right now you feel like, I've just been hurt too much and I don't know that I'll ever like let people in near me again. Well, the Page of Cups is saying, yes, you will. And the Hermit reversed is saying, the hermitude will come to an end. This circumstance and this whole situation that has been for the purpose of, gaining you hermitude in the first place, because that's where the hermitude leaves in the first place, is to go gain wisdom at the top of that mountain. No one's meant to stay up there. We're all meant to return back down from that mountain, from this trial, from this tribulation, with the wisdom we've gained from it, in order to either like apply it in our future, and in some cases share it with others in the hopes that they too will be nudged on their own paths. Whether that's like a path of transcendence like you are, or like, you can help someone by sharing your experiences if that person is going through something similar like in your future. The Hermit reversed is in essence saying, if you continue down this path and you stick to it, you will get to the point where you no longer feel like you have to isolate. You will get to the point where you can trust people again. But it's about getting through the hardships of, the discomfort of dealing with trust issues and letting people in, and trusting yourself to advocate for yourself in every relationship that you engage in order to protect yourself in a way that you're weeding out the people who shouldn't be there, but also not overprotecting yourself by denying access to absolutely everyone, and then, now you're continuing to be isolated. So yeah, my friend, Godspeed. This is so wonderful that you're on this path. I know that it is heavy. I know that it can get dark, but I promise that the peace that comes with it is so, so worth it. Goodbye. Okay, pile two, hello and welcome to this reading on your safe passage down the road to love. Now, in the beginning, down in the timestamps, you'll find before the readings and after you pick a card, there's going to be a little section breaking down what the road to love is in a bit of a more in-depth description. But suffice it to say that it is not the road to romantic union. The road to love is in essence the road to universal love, what I basically call the road to ascension, to leveling up, to following where your intuition is guiding you. And if you don't feel like an intuitive person, then what feels right for your progress, your development, etc., etc. Should romantic union be a byproduct of that transcendence and elevation, more power to you, that's so great. But that's not what this reading is about. This is not a romantic love reading. That being said, I also want to talk a little bit about the spread that I'm using, which is in fact a reference. If you know, you know. Whether or not you know what I'm referencing, so happy to have you here. Welcome. Now, to get into it, if you notice, all of your cards, save for your last card, the destination, they're all reversed. I do talk more in that in-depth breakdown that I'm talking about at the beginning. I'm not only breaking down what the road to love is, but also the spread itself in more detail if you need that. Now, you are being described as the Ace of Wands reversed, the traveler down this road. The Ace of Wands reversed, describing you, tells me that for however long, you have felt a lack of drive, a lack of, whether it's like, so this is going to be on varying degrees, where it's either you're lacking drive for something that you have always felt a lot of drive to do, so like a passion. Hell, for some of you specifically, it might be libido. But I'm getting, for most of you, and generally the bigger picture that I'm seeing is a lack of drive in general, where into the most extreme degrees, I am not a doctor, I am not prescribing anything, but you would, you know yourself. To the most extreme degrees, it would be something like depression, where you have really just really felt the lack of motivation. And so, okay, that's what you're being described as. What's missing? The Three of Swords reversed. What's missing isn't that you've What's missing is the adequate time and space necessary to deal with whatever your body, your mind, your feelings are asking you to deal with. Whether it's like a specific thing that has left a lot of, like, there's basically what's being said by the Three of Swords reversed in the what's missing spot is you haven't given heartbreak, pain, sadness, maybe even anger, its adequate space. And for that reason, things are kind of becoming that much more difficult for you because you are repressing a lot of what is being asked to be expressed and felt. And you're now experiencing the results of repression, which is that those things will manifest in different ways, whether it's like outbursts, nightmares, whatever it may be. It's going to come out in some way. So you might as well have it come out in a controlled way, which is a proper outlet, whatever that might be for you. But more than an outlet, what's necessary is your acknowledgement of pain, of anger, whatever it might be, and giving that its proper space and time, which means giving yourself the proper space and time to feel that feeling, those feelings, in order for them not to hold as much power over you, and in hopes of relieving yourself and your situation and allowing, or rather enabling, a redirection towards a goal that, if even if the goal is just to move away from these things, but if it's like more important, like if you could develop an actual goal that could give you an actual like motivation that you're missing, right? Because it's not just the space for that heartbreak, it's like that's answering the question, also kind of painting the picture of why we've been feeling that lack of drive. And so the path behind being the Four of Swords reversed and the Four being ahead of the Three, you tried to skip ahead. You tried, because the Four of Swords reversed by itself, that reversal means moving away from a time of repose and mourning in order to move into that next phase after you've mourned and you've healed and you've felt given things its proper space, because that's what the Four of Swords upwards is. The Four of Swords upwards is giving ourselves that proper time in order to mourn and feel whatever it is that we need to feel in order to process it and, you know, be able to move on from it. And so the Four of Swords reverse is like, okay, I've given things the proper space and time. It's now time for me to end this period of repose, of mourning, in order to move on with my life, basically. But these two cards of what's missing and the path behind being what they are, the Three and the Four, means that you tried to just, either you convince yourself you were fine, or you just repressed it all because it's like, I'm bigger than it, this isn't that big of a deal, I don't care about it. You obviously do. It's time for us to stop lying to ourselves about it. You can lie to yourself, but do not ask me to. The path forward being the King of Swords. Now, this is where we start to get into a little bit of lashing territory. Now, I am just the messenger, and honestly, if you click off after this moment, I wouldn't blame you. Like, it's, listen, I'm just channeling. The King of Swords reversed in the path of head is basically saying two things. One is you're not using your mind, your intelligence to its capacity. Where these feelings are concerned, you actually do have more mental power over these things than you think you do. What do I mean by that? You'll notice with these things that you've been sad about, angry about, etc., you'll notice that these days it's really not as difficult for you to move away from those feelings as it used to be. You probably, like, you'll feel those feelings, and then you'll like listen to a good song, or you'll do your favorite thing, or you're having these feelings or these thoughts, maybe while at work or while you're doing something, and it's like you're able to move away from those feelings and those thoughts because you'll just focus on the task that you're doing. So the King of Swords in the path of head is kind of pointing out to you that like the path out of this is actually a lot clearer and easier to you than you're giving yourself credit for. And it's also saying, and this is the mean part, where it's saying like you're not really using your intelligence to its full capacity. That's a really nice way of saying you're acting kind of foolish right now. You're acting kind of dumb, and it's showing up in the ways that you're acting. The decisions that you're making, and anything you feel like, oh, that was a mistake. Well, it's because you're making decisions from this chaos. Like there's all this chaos inside of you. There's all this disarray. There's all this repression going on internally that you're not able to make proper decisions the way that you're capable of. And if you just turned around and acknowledged that you do have feelings about certain things, and and in doing so, relieving yourself of such the weight of these things, because you're not feeling bad about the fact that you're not over these things, but you're like, hey, I'm not over these things, let me just be honest about it. When you're not maintaining that life for yourself, that's relief. And that's what the King of Swords is saying, is that relief, you have it in your hand. You just need to give it to yourself, and you kind of need to stop being so stubborn, bullheaded about it. The obstacle being the Seven of Wands reversed. Well, let's talk about the Seven of Wands upwards. The Seven of Wands upwards is having the will to continue to fight even if the odds don't look like they're in your favor. And so what does that look like to you? What would it take for you to feel so fired up about something that you would continue to fight for it, regardless of, you, even if you can intellectually realize, it might not be super possible. It might not be super easy to accomplish this thing that you're trying to accomplish, even if what you're trying to accomplish is move away from this turmoil. The Seven of Wands is basically saying, like, upwards is a card that says, I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to just, even if it's the last thing that I do, even if I go down swinging, it doesn't have to be that intense or dramatic, but like, just, when you're really passionate about something, even on your bad day, you'll do that thing because you love it. Or even if it's just because it's a habit, like even that is a form of love. And so reversed as the obstacle, it's basically saying, your obstacle is that lack of will. It's whatever broke you to the point that you're not willing to fight anymore. That's the thing that's being asked that you address. That's the thing that you need to sit with, because it's time for you to take that power back and like unblock that flow of passion and motivation for yourself. It's time for you to get back into that game. It's time for you to get back into that flow of, I want to do this, so I'm going to do it. Whether it's that passion that you have been feeling a lack of motivation towards, or life itself. It's like, it's time for you to snap out of it, because the King of Swords is basically saying you can. It's just that this has been a little habitual for you so far. And it kind of is about like, okay, tune in to yourself and determine for yourself what is it that's going to get you to like actually go and kickstart yourself out of this funk that you're in, whatever that is. The windfall, pretty clear cut. The Nine of Swords reversed. Well, the Nine of Swords upwards is basically everything that we've been describing so far. The things that weigh on you and how they keep you up at night, and how that's basically sucking out. Wow, that I did not mean to say sucking. I meant to say succubus, like a succubus, like stealing the like motivation and the light from your life. Kind of like, when we lack sleep, we don't have the motivation to do things the next day because we're tired. And so reversed then as the windfall, it's like a relief of these things that are depriving you of your life force, of your motivation, etc., etc., etc. And so the destination as the Six of Pentacles being the only upwards card. The Six of Pentacles is a very give and take card. If you're into astrology, it's very Libran in like this for that, like a very reciprocal type of energy. In essence, it is what a lot of people now call karma. I don't really like to use that word, but just for sake of brevity, consequence. And let me use that word instead. What I like to use instead of karma, consequence. It's a card of consequence. And basically what it's saying is what you give is what you get. And that's what's being said here is so far, before very recently, it is okay that you didn't have it in you to get yourself out of this funk. It's okay that you weren't able to give very much of yourself, invest of yourself to like remove yourself from this. But it's being shown in the cards that as of very recently, or however long, especially what matters is that as of right now, you do have it in you to kickstart yourself out of this, and it's time for you to do that. What you give is what you get, and so if you continue to give your energy and time into this depression or this lack of motivation, then that is what you will continue to yield for yourself. Where if you give and pour to yourself and do whatever it is necessary to get yourself back to where you need to, even if it's a passion that you've lost like motivation for, let's say it's like bicycling or working out or something, even if it means working out tomorrow, even if you don't feel like it, just because you know that that's what's best for you, like that, what you give is what you get, point blank, simple, period, that's it. I really hope that this helped. Godspeed on your journey, my friend. Bye. Hello, my friends, and welcome to this reading on the safe passage, your safe passage down the road to love. Now, down in the timestamps, there you're going to see a breakdown of not only what the road to love is, but also the spread that I'm using I break those down in detail. Basically, long and short of it is that the road to love is not the road to romantic union. This is not a romantic love reading. The road to love is the road to transcendence, to leveling up, to progression, basically becoming the best versions of ourselves. This is the road to universal love, basically. So just wanted to clear that up before we continue. Now, you being described as the magician reversed in the context of this reading and with everything else going on, basically is saying that you have a lot of magnetism. I mean, the magician just coming up alone by itself is any card that comes up, even if it's reversed, it indicates that like it's true for you. The reversal is just indicating some type of alteration to that energy. And so you are the magician. You have a lot of magnetism, you have a lot of pull, you have a lot. And this is, although I said this wasn't a romantic reading, and it definitely isn't, at the end of it all, after all is said and done, what this message is saying is not at all romantic, but it can apply to very likely a tumultuous ex-romantic partner. And if it's not a particular ex, it might be the type of individual that you find yourself in union with. And so the magician reversed is basically indicating that you need to be very mindful of the pull that you have, and if not that, the doors that you leave open for that particular person or these particular people. What's missing, being the Three of Swords reversed, is you actually miss this individual, and if not this individual, then if it's like your type, you miss that feeling that they give you. Now, no judgment here, girly. Believe me. We all have some type of, dare we call it, toxic preference, right, that we all have to grow through, but we do have to grow through it. And the fact that you're here at a reading and you haven't clicked off when I said that it's not a romantic love reading, but in essence, a reading to develop yourself and make yourself better, the fact that you haven't clicked off it indicates to me that you are ready to transcend past these things. And so you're being asked to look at these things honestly, how you do pull these things, and even if it's out of your control, like let's say you're not leaving doors open, you're not leaving certain people the opportunities to, then it's just your magnetism. It's whatever the case is, you need to determine what that means for you. And what's missing, being the Three of Swords again, it's like that you do miss these things, that you are, dare I say, even a little toxic yourself and liking these things. Again, no judgment, girlies. There's a reason I understand these things and I can see these things because I've been there myself. It's okay. Like, it's fine. Don't hold it over yourself. We're here to heal. It's okay. Let's be honest with ourselves about it. The path behind, being the Eight of Cups reversed indicates clearly there were so many moments in the past, whether it's with an individual or not, where you should have walked away, where you can recognize now, like, that was the moment I should have walked away, however many moments of those there were. So the path behind being like, you just didn't. You stayed in places you knew you shouldn't have. The path ahead is, I'll argue, like the one positive card in this whole spread. Now they continue to be positive, but like it's the one card that's upwards, and it's basically the first card that we run into that gives us some hope, because the path ahead, being the Ace of Pentacles, means that life, love, whatever you feel is guiding you, is ready to give you the opportunity to actually close this cycle out. But it's not going to be easy. Why? Because the obstacle itself is the Two of Cups reversed. Now, if this is an individual, very likely that they'll come back a knocking. Please recognize the devil when he comes to see and test your defenses. Now, maybe this person isn't the devil. Maybe this person is a genuinely nice person. I don't know your situation. The fact of the matter is that you recognize you guys shouldn't be together or cannot be together for whatever reason. And that's best case scenario. For most of us, I can kind of sense it's like kind of like towards the worst case scenario, where like this is an individual we have no business being around. These are individuals that we have no business being around. And the obstacle being the Two of Cups reversed is like these things, you will have easy access to these things, whether it's individuals or that individual. And it will be up to you to have the will, the strength of will, to be like, actually, I love myself more and I'm going to choose myself. So I'm going to forego this thing that I want, but that I recognize is not good enough for me. And it's just not good for me. And so the windfall being the Ten of, and this is where it starts to get a little scary, to be honest. The Ten of Pentacles reversed as the windfall is basically saying, if you successfully, ignore this individual or these individuals, if you successfully move away from them, you will be dodging a huge bullet. If you dodge this bullet, you're dodging a lot. Because the Ten of Pentacles upwards is a card of family. It's a card of legacy, of generations, and built in essence. And so if we are talking about an individual, if you don't pass this certain test that's going to be coming up for you, this obstacle, you're going to just continue that cycle. You will stay there. In some cases, this individual might even go as far as wanting to start an actual family with you, become family with you, take things to the certain level because they've lost you once, and so they recognize that they have to give you more in order to keep you this time around. Like, they'll actually want to create the circumstances to make it, to solidify the situation more. And we're recognizing that this is not the individual you should be with. And so if you allow yourself to be, in essence, shackled and weighed down by this individual that you know is not for you, then this is something that's going to impact you, not only your life, but if you decide to like start a family with this individual, all of this bullshit will then start to manifest itself generationally. So the windfall is, if you successfully dodge this bullet, you're dodging a bullet, like a big one, a very nasty one. And so the destination being the Four of Pentacles reversed, well, the Four of Pentacles upwards is this individual or these individuals your type, a bum, basically. Someone who sells this story that they are so great and that they're more than what they are. This dude right here in the Four of Pentacles wants to be the emperor so bad. He has set up a little throne at the roof of his house, and he's saved like this is like those people who show off this stack of bills. And like, for all you know, they've been saving that for years just for that one picture or that one clip or that one video, or they like borrowed some bills from their friends just for the clout. That's what this individual is. This is someone who like blows a lot of smoke but has nothing to show for it. And so reversed, as you know, in continuation of this windfall of dodging a bullet, well, the destination is you not being tied to this bump. You're the magician. You are it. You have magnetism. You can pull the partner that you want, but for whatever reason, so far you've only allowed yourself to be around bums. And so if you successfully follow through on this road to love, where you are recognizing, hey, I love myself more than whatever it is that these bums provide for me, because Carl, believe me, I know that sometimes bums can be a really good time. I know, believe me, I know. But they're a bum and you're not. And, there are people that we can have fun with, and there are certainly times and phases of life when that's appropriate. But right now, for us, sweetie, it's not. It's time for us to elevate and for you to show yourself what it means to stand by your principles and not allow certain shit people into our beautiful, magnificent energy. It's time for you to learn that your magnetism doesn't just mean that, well, I pulled it in. Oh, well, no, you have to have boundaries. You have to be like, well, no, I don't want that. So I'm going to like not allow that into my energy. Thanks for trying. Bye. Whatever it is, it's time for you. It is obviously time for you to start choosing yourself. You're ready to. So start choosing yourself. My friend, Godspeed on your journey. Wishing you all the best. Bye.